they were decided in 16,000 men into a 900 men place. You can't do it, really. So we were sleeping out and no toilets or anything of that nature, no water for quite a few days. And there we were kept and taken out to lorry loads to do work, repairing streets and so on, for 3 months anyway. And then suddenly I got a message to go to the orderly room, and went there and told I was on a draft to go up country to a holiday camp.
I don't suppose it was a holiday?
This is the idea of the Japanese, a holiday camp. Good food, plenty of rest, and all work well. That was the way they put it. And the method of getting us up country was by train. We went to Singapore railway station, and there was a whole line of steel wagon which used to be used to carry rice and sugar and so on. And about 30 to 40 men in one of these, and the door closed. And eventually when the train moved off, in the Singapore heat, it was unbelievable. And there was no toilet facilities whatsoever. And by this time, most of us had some sort of disease, malaria or dysentery, mostly dysentery and malaria. And this all had to happen in those trucks. Can you imagine that?
Where was it you were sent to?
To Thailand. And Bampong is where we came off the railway. And it was about 5 p.m. that afternoon. The sun was still out. And then we were told we had to march 150 kilos that night through virgin jungle, hacking our way through. And if you lingered or fell behind, that was it. You were left to die. Or if you weren't left to die, the Japanese made sure you would die. And there we had to walk. That was the start of really what the Japanese really are.
And
They had the bamboo, split the bamboo, and the edge of a bamboo when split is like a razor. So if they put you with that, 9 times out of 10 you'd have a jungle abscess. And from that, usually, goodbye. And they went up and down that column, whipping, and I made sure I was in the middle of the column of 3. So that less chance of being caught. And when we arrived, I can't think how many hours later, we had to start cutting down bamboo trees. Where was a holiday camp? It was jungle.
so you were sent to work on the Bangkok Railway. What were conditions like there?
Oh, that was something, let's face it, the particular part where we were which was in Hellfire Pass, was solid rock. And that had to be taken through solid rock manually. No special tools, just hammer and chisel. Hammer and chisel. I can imagine what that is in 120 degrees heat. By this time, you've hardly any clothes left. You certainly haven't anything on your feet. So you're knocking down rock and you're having to walk on it. Not the best, is it? And there was no mechanical means at all.
Well, by hand?
All by hand. Dynamite. Who set off the dynamite? Our boys. And if we couldn't run fast enough, very often a rock hits it.
And how did the Japanese treat you when you were working?
Terrible. You were slaves. Absolute 100% slaves. They had no... they didn't have any feeling for you at all. I mean, the trouble was you had your Japanese officers, you had your Japanese NCOs and sergeants and so on. Now they were sort of ICs of the railway. The guards were Koreans. The Koreans hated the Japs hated the Koreans. But the Koreans, because they were bad used by the Japs, then took it out on us, including the Japs themselves. And I mean, every day somebody got a real beating up, or maybe 2 or 3. And they would make you stand with a rock above your head, and every time you dropped it, you got beaten up. And you had to put it back up. They're terrible.
After a while you were put on a boat, you were going to be sent to Japan, but that boat was torpedoed. So just explain what happened then.
We were put into a ship, into the hold, 400 to 500 men in that hold. No, nothing, no beds or anything. You had a job finding space. Now that's where we were. I thought, this is it, they're taking us out to the sea and scuttle the ship. And then get rid of the whole lot of us. However, that wasn't they were heading for Japan, as you say. The ship, which had like 1,300 men before us, was ahead of us. They got sunk on that particular night, and we got sunk the next night. Now they had 1,300 people, and their ship didn't go down for about 12 hours. Ours went down within 10, 15 minutes. So if you couldn't swim, you were finished. I fortunately could swim, and somebody had taken the buttons off the hold, or the water had done it, so I was in the water. Now that water was oil water and a light, so you had to swim through oily water which was bubbling. That was the grimmest time I had for quite a long time, hearing men calling for their wives who couldn't swim and knowing what was happening. And in the morning, there wasn't a ship or anything in sight, just me and a wee round raft.
So you took a decision to go it alone, to stay on your own in the Pacific Ocean. Was that a good decision?
Yeah, I swam until I got it. Sheer luck that I got a single one. But whatever one, it wouldn't have mattered, I would have had to take it. And the only person I saw was a Japanese officer the next day, all in his full uniform, his sword at his side and on a raft like mine. So I thought, if he tries anything, I'll win. Because I thought all that stuff on your body soon sink you, mate. So, but he didn't. He just came near enough. He said, "You will be picked up."
And how long were you in that raft?
5 days and 5 nights.
It must have been very tough.
Yes, because your body was covered with oil. And when the sun came up during the day, it was butter. And at night, it was freezing. It's a complete change. And for about an hour before sunset, you're wishing that the sun to go away. And then when it does, you're wishing the sun would come up. So,
how do you think you survived?
Sheer bloody guts and thunder. I was determined to survive from the beginning. Even though I knew maybe the chances were practically nil. They were nil. But the fact that I'd done so much in my early youth to be fit, and so my fitness was the thing that carried me.
You were picked up by a Japanese whaling vessel, I think, and then you were taken to Japan. What happened after that?
As it happened, I was so badly injured then that they kept me in the camp after about 3 or 4 weeks working in the coal mine, because I was just virtually collapsing too often. So they gave me a job in the camp, and that was helping out in the hospital, so-called hospital, because there was no drugs, not an aspirin in 3.5 years. And can I make another point? I never had a wash in 3.5 years. Can you believe that?
That's terrible. So, you having been in the coal mine, you were eventually moved to another camp, I think, which was near Nagasaki.
Well, more or less, yes. That's about 10, 11 miles.
And you were in that camp when the atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, just 10 miles or so away. What do you remember of that?
I'll tell you what I was doing. I was emptying the Japanese toilets, which is a hole in the ground, right, and a big scoop. And that was to put on the tomato plants. As I was doing it, I used to think, yeah, well, I only eat the tomatoes. They certainly look very nice, but no way would I eat that. Anyway, at that stage, I held a plane, and I looked up, and this was quite clearly an American plane. No opposition, and it just drove no other way. Then, minutes later, I was just blown across the pathway, a big gust, which I thought was wind, hot air. But this was a bomb going off.
Did you know what it was?
No. We didn't even know the state of the war. They were on their heels now, the Japs. And when they dropped it on Hiroshima, they were offered to surrender, but they didn't. And they were told, if they don't surrender, you get another one. So they didn't surrender, so they dropped Nagasaki. And that saved thousands and thousands of men all over the Pacific, prisoners of war. Because there had been a directive from the Japanese army that if the Americans put 1 foot on Japanese soil, the whole of the people who were taken prisoner had to be massacred on the 12th of August. When was the bomb dropped? The 9th of August. Thank God. Here I am.
Eventually, of course, you were repatriated, you came home, and now what is your view of the Japanese people and the way in which the government has reacted since the war in terms of offering an apology to the people who suffered at the hands of the Japanese forces?
As I did 70 years ago. Look at me now. I'm suffering now from their punishment.
But you're the man who refused to die.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.